Hi everyone, my name is Rebecca. I'm a fish biologist, an ichthyologist and also a PhD student, a doctorate student studying and researching Loricariidae catfishes or plecos and looking at their evolution. So today I'm going to talk about the common pleco and specifically more Pterygoplichthys and why they are so fascinating, why they are so brilliant and why they shouldn't be so underrated as they are. So, what is Pterygoplichthys? What is the common pleco? So common pleco, actually the name most likely originates or does originate from Hypostomus plecostomus. This is not seen in the trade and this is the other genus that is often also called the common pleco. So it's usually Pterygoplichthys and also Hypostomus, which they're both quite similar morphologically with some main differences. Hypostomus plecostomus, I wouldn't worry about saying it's unseen in the trade just largely due to catch locality most likely. Pterygoplichthys makes up around 20 species, Hypostomus makes up I think around, Pterygoplichthys might be 15 species, then a load of L numbers. Hypostomus I think around 50 species and then loads of L numbers. Hypostomus you can almost split up into multiple clades, multiple groups. Cotyledon being the most famous, so Hypostomus cotyledon group, that includes members like, well they're known as the rusty plecos, most of them. So that's Hypostomus cotyledon, Hypostomus sonnae, which is the blue-eyed rusty, Hypostomus basilisco, which is one of the rusties, there's also chimera, which I think are really fancy names. So it's very vast with a wide range of different morphology, shapes, diet likely, and it's one that isn't actually as common. So I'm mostly going to focus on Pterygoplichthys here, as these are the ones most commonly referred to as the common pleco. Hypostomus you don't really see too much, and it's kind of useful to make that distinction. The difference being that Hypostomus generally has 7 soft dorsal rays, so you've got the main dorsal spine, which is the strong one at the front, and then you've got 7 after that in Hypostomus. Pterygoplichthys will have 8 or more, usually more, and in some cases a lot more, particularly like gibiceps or gibiceps, and also which might be referred to as the sailfin pleco, but also I think multiradiatus, hence the name. So I will distinguish here, there is also the common bristlenose, which is a good way of defining the common species of bristlenose we see, which has many variants. I refer to it as Antistrus sp because we don't know which species it is yet. Some people think it's closely related to cirrhosis or is cirrhosis, which I think is unlikely, given there has been assessment of them. But we just don't know what they are, where they originate, really, other than that's the most common species we see. So, Pterygoplichthys, the common pleco, it's probably one of the most distinctive names maybe in the trade, in the hobby. Whenever people say pleco, they think of the common pleco. But the common pleco, as I've already kind of explained, isn't one species. And therefore it has so much diversity and it gets a really bad reputation for a variety of reasons. So the main thing is really just the size, but I don't think the size is an issue. So Pterygoplichthys will grow anywhere from around 20 centimetres standard length, which is maybe like what, 9 inches? Excluding the tail, because the tail is an unreliable measurement, particularly of this genus, because they can get quite large extensions to that caudal fin, tail fin, all the way up to 45 centimetres standard length, smallest being Hypostomus weberi, which is actually getting quite common, also known as the ranger pleco, and you'll see the common names just are cherry picking as well, it's not the most helpful. Then the largest would be kind of I think it would be multiradiatus, gibiceps, disjunctivus, maybe even Ambroseti, but I think Ambroseti gets a bit smaller. But these might sound like large measurements, But the problem is that there are species and genera that don't have this reputation that get a lot bigger. So Panax, the royal plecos, you're looking at, the smallest species is Panax bathyphyllus. This grows to 30 centimetres standard length. So that is already within the Pteygoplichthys, the common pleco size range. But that species isn't very common, and often you'll find Panax schäferi sold as Panax bathyphyllus. Problem is Panax schäferi grows to 60 centimetre standard length, and 60 centimetre standard length seems the largest of the Panax. Most tend to be towards that 40 centimetre standard length range, which is definitely within the upper realms of Pteygoplichthys. Even Paradalis, which is the most common pleco, only grows to 30 centimetre standard length. So Panax get a lot bigger. They are more difficult to keep in captivity. They don't grow well. They don't get a very good mortality in comparison. How many Panax do you hear about that reach over decades? And these fish can live many, many decades compared to Pteygoplichthys. And it's not just Panax though that has these obscenely large sizes, and they have a better reputation, more popularity than the common pleco. What about Pseudocanthicus? Pseudocanthicus is debatably one of the largest genus or genera, and this Acanthicus clade includes the largest in general. So Pseudocanthicus grows from anywhere, I think it's around, the smallest would be LO97, which grows to, I think, 25 centimetres, 27, 28 centimetres standard length. But the majority are 30 centimetres. They're a lot more boisterous. They're one of the most boisterous and one of the most territorial. And they're carnivores. I find them actually quite easy to keep in captivity. They're quite active. And the largest is 60 centimetre standard length, so it does put it in that debatable large bracket. They're popular. People will spend hundreds on these fishes. People are obsessed with these fishes. They got a massive following, and they don't get the bad reputation that Pteygoplichthys gets. Maybe because they are pricey, but does that really mean anything? Does the price tag actually mean much to a fish? It certainly doesn't mean rarity or coloration. The next one is Acanthicus. Acanthicus in the literature reports around 60 centimetre standard length, but potentially well over a metre standard length. So that would be what, 40 inches? I don't use inches, but this is a big fish. They are nasty, well, behaviourally, and they're very, it's just the size. Pseudocanthicus is bad, but then you've got, like, I really like Pseudocanthicus. Serratus is one of my favourites. But these are big fishes, they're territorial fishes. They're quite easy to grow, and they grow at a very good pace. Pseudocanthicus, particularly the babies, are very, well, even the fry babies, like, at a small size, they're starting to rasp on each other. They're starting to show aggression. Whereas Acanthicus, I don't know, because I've never imported them in large numbers. I've never seen them really imported in large numbers, but they have a massive following. And this is a really big fish to think about. You see a lot of people talk about why they don't like all the large Pymlidae, red-tailed catfish. They don't like ripsaws, but this is a big fish. And yes, the coloration as a juvenile is really attractive, but they do soon lose those spots. And you'll see that with a lot of Loricariidae. People buy them for their juvenile patterning, but the adults look nothing alike, and that's the same for Barium cistrus. So that's just a summary of, wow, Hypostomus itself has much larger. The most, probably the one that loads of people want, Hypostomus luteus. There's also others, I think. Margifera, oh, I don't know. I can spell it and I can recognise it, but I can't pronounce it. Well, Hypostomus luteus is 50 centimetre standard length. That's bigger than any Pteygoplichthys. So that the summary of sizes just shows that they're not the biggest problem, because people buy these ones because they're seen as collector items, and this causes so many issues, and they're not likely to be rehomed as easy because people see them as having a price tag, and therefore they're not going to let them go to, I guess, a good home unless they're going to pay quite a bit. And they are beautiful, but most Loricariidae are. So what about the common pleco with appearance? A lot of people say that the common pleco is ugly, gross, or just not attractive, but that's completely wrong. There is a diverse genus with markings and coloration. You've got Gibiceps, also one of the sail fins, that's got beautiful giraffe markings. They do get smaller of age, but it really holds on to its patterning. It does have an albino variant, which is very attractive, very beautiful, very distinctive as well. And also Josemanus, which is L001, that has the black base of gold spots. It's a very beautiful fish. Even those two are really nice looking, attractive fish that deserve more credit. Then we've got Pterygoplichthys literatus and Panabe, very striking fish similar to Josemanus. And these hold on to their patterning a lot better than other groups, I'd say. Acanthicus just goes black-brown. And then what would be the other is Pseudacanthicus. Depends. I would say Parara, which is LO24, and LO25, which is LO24 is Pitanga, which I think is quite a brown looking fish, so I don't know why people aren't, like, Pterygoplichthys is stunning. The most stunning though, it has to be Armbruster, and if you get a Snow King, which maybe is the true Armbruster, but we don't actually know what Armbruster entirely is based on. It does include anicity, and the very close or similar Disjunctivus can be extremely striking fish. The base colour, white or black with white or black markings, they're almost like the large zebra pleco, I'd say. They are absolutely beautiful fish. Sometimes you might see Armbruster sold as a Snow King. It's not commonly found. It's a stunning fish. So I wouldn't rate them lowly. So the next thing has to be rarity. Plecos have become a collector's item, and that has its own problems. And the price tag obviously being a lot of what draws certain people to them. People go on price tag and buy what they see as the most expensive, and they think, oh, that means it's rare, that means I should get it. But that's really not right at all. In the way that, like, Hypancistria zebra is one of the most common species seen in the trade. And then also the phantoms. Phantoms aren't as pricey. Parancistria aurantiacus, the Xantho pleco or chubby pleco. That price tag is declining, but it's still quite high. The Hypancistria L236. Super whites, I think even our B-line, L173, their price tags were particularly high, but it doesn't mean they were ever rare when their price tags were high. They were still around, and they were really popular, easy to find. But still, they demanded high price tags, and people really cared about getting them. And the sad thing about Pterygoplichthys is that there's such a stigma behind them being common, behind them being nasty, that even the rare ones don't really sell well unless you label them as something else. And I did do that experiment once by labelling Pterygoplichthys weberi as the Ranger pleco. They sell. Label them as common pleco, no one wants them. People will actually complain if you're stocking them. And the price tag should be higher than it is. It should reflect almost the beauty of them, but price tags I think reflect very little. So the most rare species in the trade have no particular price tag that's high or low really. It depends what they end up as bycatch with particularly. And the only way you're going to get something rare generally is if you know what you're looking for and that you know what you're looking at. So if you're just going to go around looking at price tags or what people say is rare, you probably won't find what actually is rare. But I think these fish deserve a lot more respect for that beautiful appearance they have. Then they are rare in many cases actually. So the most common being Pteygoplichthys, followed probably by Gibiceps, Josemanus, maybe on par with Gibiceps actually. I'm seeing a lot more Josemanus than I am seeing of Gibiceps. Gibiceps I see a lot more babies, juveniles, because they are quite striking. They're very sweet at that size, but they do grow to be monsters. They are, like any loricariid, any large loricariid, they are a big decision that you're going to have to think about for many decades to come with housing and tanks. I'm sorry, but these sills won't last 20 years, really. 20 years is a risk. They can last longer, but it is unlikely that the sills will last on most tanks. So you got these fish for life, and they're probably good. They could outlive you easily. So I'm not saying get them there, have them in any tank. I'm just saying that they're brilliant and they deserve more credit. They deserve people to want to rehome them. People want to take them on, because if you have the space, they're not that bad. And rarity, so Pterygoplichthys, Josemanus tends to be on par with each other. And then we've got a bit rarer, Disjunctivus maybe. I don't see that many Disjunctivuses. They're very similar to Pteygoplichthys. I think their morphology and their shape is different. But next, all the others really are much rarer than phantoms, than the zebra pleco, than the gold nuggets, than L236. I have only seen, and these are one of my favourite fishes, they're challenged to identify. I think I've only seen 2 or 3 Literatus that I can confirm. I've seen them on lists, but I doubt anyone imports them. So that shows how rare Literatus is. Panabe, I think I've seen 1 or 2 I can confirm are likely that, and Armbruster maybe a little bit more. The true snow kings I rarely, if ever, see. Zingarensis, unseen in the trade. Why people go on about common plecos being common or putting people down for owning them when it doesn't even exist in the trade, that species, I don't think. What are the ones? Multiradiatus is a difficult one. Weberi is getting more common. Punctatus I don't see. So they deserve more credit. They're brilliant fishes and they're not as common if rarity matters to you. So the last thing about why I think Pterygoplichthys or the common pleco is cool is they are extremely adaptable. They are probably the most generalist detritivores. Detritivores feeding on decaying matter, stuff like that. Algae, probably bacteria, a variety of microbes, and they've proven themselves to be adaptable when it comes to that. You've got many other species like the Panax that tend to get very stunted in captivity. They shouldn't have that slow growth rate they do. You're unlikely to get overpopulated because they don't breed particularly well in, well, they don't breed in aquariums as far as I know. They generally need that sort of farm setup. But they are adaptable with diet, parameters, they can deal with low temperatures. I would never put them below 21°C. They can survive that, obviously. They can also survive a level of salinity. I'd only do it short term, but they can adapt to a low level of salinity. And don't keep them in brackish tanks or saltwater tanks. And unlike a lot of species, you see them last for years in awful setups, and it doesn't mean you should keep them in awful setups. But I've seen them survive like Rift Valley cichlid setups, which are really ill-suited. But they're brilliant fishes, need more recognition within the trade for being as hardy as they are, while still growing to a good size. They can compete with other fishes better than a lot of other loricariids. So you could keep them with a bit more boisterous or faster feeding fishes than many other species. And at the end of the day, they do need that credit because people need to be rehoming there or like taking them on. They deserve homes. They're nice fish, they're intelligent fish, they're active. And I think that they have had an awful bad deal in the trade and in the hobby forever, I think. And it doesn't reflect on rarity, ease of keeping, beauty, because they are stunning and they're one of my favourites. I've worked with many and they don't get rehomed easily, whereas if you change the name, and it shows the importance or what the influence of giving an animal a common name to whether it's going to be bought or sold. Hence why penguin tetras, the sharks as in barla shark, silver shark, red-tailed black sharks and rainbow sharks sell so well, because it's all about the name. At the end of the day, they're beautiful fishes, and don't look on whether it's popular, how many people have it, the price tag. Ignore that and look at what's suitable for your tank and such like that. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you like my videos, please comment, like and subscribe, and goodbye.